So today I'm here to talk about, you guessed it, Donald Trump. He seems to be a hot ticket item at any given time on any day. You cannot escape this man's name unless you live in a shed in the woods. I didn't used to follow politics at all. I would check in every now and again to try to get a basic idea and temperature check on how things are going and how the one in charge was doing. Even when Trump ran the first time, I was going to vote for Hillary until several things were divulged about her that did not make her the better candidate, and I didn't know enough about Trump to vote for him. So I wrote myself on the ballot and voted for myself, being a jackass, as it were. But I mean, you can't, like I said, you can't escape this man's name. You can't escape anything that he does because everything is broadcast, televised, scrutinized, and completely picked apart by multiple factions in the political theater, and a lot of fear-mongering and a lot of condemning take place of everything this man does. First he's a racist, he's a misogynist. Although misogyny thing, can't really, I'm not going to debate that. Don't know about the racist part. It's really hard to really know who's telling the truth on either side anymore. It has been that way for some time because they all like to lie and blow shit way out of proportion, or just completely fabricate things. But then he was, a Nazi sympathizer. He's Hitler. He's an existential threat to democracy. He's creating these constitutional crises. Blah, 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 blah. Now he's a war criminal. I'm going to have to call BS on that. I've definitely hit my limit a couple of times on how much this man gets hammered by the hypocrites, the hypocritical party, aka the Democrats, because he's doing the exact same thing they have either already done or they have wanted to do. Bombing Iran, for one, was a hot ticket item for Miss Hillary Clinton back in 2008. And she spoke on it quite frequently. I understand that Congress is the only one that can declare actual war where we can send troops in and wage war against another nation. But then you have what's called the War Powers Clause post 9/11, part of the constitutional framework of the War Powers Act. And I'm going to read this just so, everyone's up to speed. I'll try to be quick with it. The Constitution divides war powers between Congress and the president to safeguard against rash decisions. Congress retains the authority to declare war, while the president holds the role of commander-in-chief, who's the leader of the armed forces. This balance was established to prevent unchecked executive power over military forces. Article 1 of the Constitution gives Congress the responsibility of declaring war, reflecting the belief that such important choices should be made by a body representing diverse voices. The thing is, though, I don't think they don't hold a vote. I mean, I've never been aware of one where they ask the people of the United States to vote on it. I mean, if it has happened, like I said, I didn't follow a lot of politics up until, Trump's first term. But I didn't know we were able to vote on whether we send people to war or not. It's the government that chooses that, not the people. So they may represent diverse voices. It doesn't mean we actually get a say. But anyways, the War Power Clause embodies this notion stemming from framers' wariness of concentrating too much authority in one branch. However, post 9/11, this balance has been tested. Successive administrations have stretched the boundaries of the president's military actions, often using the authorization for use of military force, AUMF, of 2001 to bypass formal declarations of war. This trend, while effective for immediate responses, challenges the constitutional balance envisioned by the framers. So, in other words, Trump is completely in the right and all legal beagle to do this. Furthermore, as you'll hear also mentioned later, by Charlemagne the God, and a gentleman that's on The View, I can't remember his name right offhand. Recent presidents have repeatedly ordered military attacks on other countries despite questions over whether congressional approval was needed. The latest was Republican Donald Trump's June 21st bombing of Iran's nuclear facilities. His administration said he had the authority to limit nuclear proliferation. Trump in 2017 cited national security interests for a missile strike on a Syrian base that was used to launch chemical weapon attacks on Syrian civilians. It sounds like a pretty damn good reason to blow it up. In 2021, here's y'all's golden boy, Democrat Joe Biden, or used to be anyways, Democrat Joe Biden. Well, actually, I guess he is now that he gave up his presidential bid this time around. Joe Biden ordered an airstrike on Iran-backed militia groups in Syria, citing self-defense. In 2011, Democrat Barack Obama, you see a trend here, Democrat, ordered limited airstrikes on Libya. He said he was trying to protect pro-democracy protesters targeted by Libyan dictator Muammar Gaddafi. And then let's not forget Bill Clinton blowing up Kosovo. Even though the Constitution says only Congress has the power to declare war. Now listen, this is where I want to have to call bullshit. Because if you go into someone's country blowing stuff up, that's a little more than poking the bear with a stick, in my opinion. But as I mentioned earlier, and listed here, your guys' other wannabe savior, Miss Hillary Clinton, was very much in understanding the threat that Iran poses to the world, especially end up with a nuclear warhead. Now, it's not that that Iran themselves would detonate a nuclear weapon. I don't think they would do that, but they would definitely pass the buck on to a jihadist group who has no problem with every one of their people dying for their religion. And they would most assuredly do it. Because I don't care what anybody says or anyone thinks, there isn't a leader alive on this planet that is running any of these countries that is psychotic enough to start a nuclear war. None of them. Because everything that governs these people pertains and is centered around the color of green. Money. Money is everything to these people. And you can't make money off of people that are dead or land that's obliterated and is toxic. You can't. There's no way. So that's why it will never happen unless you have someone like Iran pass that on to one of these terrorist groups and then be like, we don't know anything about it. It wasn't us. That's a possibility, and one that needed and forever needs to be completely eliminated and removed from the board. As I said, Miss Clinton was also in support of this.
And when this debate is over, we need to come together to ensure that this president and the next president have the tools, resources, and support to send a clear message to Iran. Cheat, and you will pay. And when you threaten the region and Israel, you threaten America. We will keep confronting you on human rights and terrorism, and make no mistakes, we will never allow you to acquire a nuclear weapon. Not just during the term of this agreement, never.
If Iran were to launch a nuclear attack on Israel, what would our response be? And I want the Iranians to know that if I'm the president, we will attack Iran. Whatever stage of development they might be in their nuclear weapons program in the next 10 years, during which they might foolishly consider launching an attack on Israel, we would be able to totally obliterate them. That's a terrible thing to say, but those people who run Iran need to understand that, because that perhaps will deter them from doing something that would be reckless, foolish, and tragic.
We know very well what we inherited with Iran, because we deal with that inheritance every day. We know that refusing to deal with the Islamic Republic has not succeeded in altering the Iranian march toward a nuclear weapon, reducing Iranian support for terror, or improving Iran's treatment of its own citizens. Neither the President nor I have any illusions that dialogue with the Islamic Republic will guarantee success of any kind. And the prospects have certainly shifted in the weeks following the election. But we also understand the importance of offering to engage Iran and giving its leaders a clear choice, whether to join the international community as a responsible member or to continue down a path to further isolation. Direct talks provide the best vehicle for presenting and explaining that choice. That is why we offered Iran's leaders an unmistakable opportunity. Iran does not have a right to nuclear military capacity, and we're determined to prevent that.
See, on this next clip, you'll see Johnathan Karl on The View check Sunny Hostin on her trying to find any angles she could possibly find to string Trump up in regards to this bombing in Iran. And he states quite abruptly that Trump's not the only president that's done it. So, her point is invalid.
Lawmakers on both sides of the aisle have called into question the constitutionality of Donald Trump's actions. He bypassed Congress, potentially violated the War Powers Resolution. I believe this is certainly a clear violation of international law, at the very least. Democratic House Leader Hakeem Jeffries accused the president of misleading the country as to his intentions. What do you think are the possible ramifications that President Trump could face for arguably overstepping his authority?
Well, look, constitutionally, only Congress has the power to declare war. The War Powers Act would make it seem very clear you need to have congressional approval on this. But president after president after president has launched military action without the approval of Congress.
Yeah.
And Congress, under Democratic and Republican leadership, has complained the president is violating the War Powers Act. This is not new. I go back. I covered Bill Clinton and the military strikes against Kosovo back in 1999. Again,
that's why I think it's more of an international law violation.
But look, it's a Republican Congress right now. I don't think he's not getting any blowback from within his own party, with the exception of Tom Massie.
So what's the good of having it then, if they all violate it?
Well, that's a great question.
We've been using the 2003 AUMF to authorize every military strike in about 25 years. So Congress can't be feckless and then be mad when they don't like the outcome.
Yeah. So that was after 9/11. Congress passed this authorization of military force against. It was supposed to be against Afghanistan.
Yeah.
For harboring Al Qaeda, and it has been used over and over and over.
And see, that's something that just baffles me, because it doesn't matter what Trump does. They are not going to support him whatsoever. They're not going to give him an attaboy, even remotely that. They're most assuredly not going to condone any actions that he takes. It's absolutely absurd. It is absolutely absurd. I understand being at odds from time to time, because there's things that Trump has done that I'm at odds with, that I do not support. But not every move this man makes is inaccurate or wrong or illegal. They constantly bring up his felonies. His felonies are a joke. His felonies were misdemeanors, and they found a loophole to upscale them to felonies so they can try him because it was past the statute of limitations. All facts, but they're a joke. He paid essentially a prostitute to be quiet about their sexual encounters. Nobody cares. Bill Clinton serviced one of his staffers with a cigar while he was in office. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Anyways, I digress. On these next couple of clips is Charlemagne the God and Stephen A. Smith. I'm just going to let them run, but it's pretty bad. Like I said, Democrats are waking up. Some liberals are waking up, and they're seeing the BS and the hypocrisy of the Democratic Party. And you cannot take a high road and take the high ground, especially of morality, when you exist on straight BS and your lies are being exposed constantly. And you're literally either doing or have done or have talked about doing the exact same crap that you're complaining about that the current administration is doing. Or you've done worse. Joe Biden and his secret documents, the secret documents case against Donald Trump. Same thing, except Joe Biden, what he did was illegal 100% because he took them when he was vice president. And only the president has the authority to declassify top secret documents, not the VP. The VP is a figurehead and a face and, a scapegoat, as you saw with Kamala Harris. But anyways, go ahead. I'll go ahead and roll the clips. Sorry.
Here's where I get infuriated. The Democrats are calling, or at least some of them, are calling for the impeachment of Donald Trump. Same old song and dance. Thought we heard this before. I thought that was over and done with. The minute you lost the election with the popular vote in the electoral college vote and losing every sweep state. I thought we were over that. But evidently not. Question number one. No matter what you feel about the President of the United States, do you think that's the time, while we're in the middle of such strife, to be calling for the impeachment of the President of the United States? Particularly if you're a representative, you're an elected official in the United States of America? I don't think so. That's number one. Number two, were the Democrats saying that when Obama bombed Libya, when he was in office? We're making all of this noise about how the War Powers Act is utilized and how Donald Trump didn't receive congressional approval. Well, this is not an act of war. This is eradicating a threat. Civilians weren't targeted. Nuclear sites were targeted. So if nuclear sites were targeted, but no civilians were targeted, then that's not a war. At least not yet. Which means that you can navigate your way around the War Powers Act itself, and you don't have to concern yourself with receiving congressional approval. The Democrats know that because of Obama. So if you knew that because of Obama and you didn't say it when it involved him in Libya, why would you turn around and all of a sudden try to make that case against Donald Trump? I'm not here condoning what Trump did, because I don't know if he's completely telling the truth. I'd like to believe he is.
This is one of those times where politicians sound like hypocrites, because Mark Kelly is right. Presidents should get congressional approval, but there have been a bunch of presidents who have ordered strikes without congressional approval. Barack Obama did it against Libya. Joe Biden ordered strikes in Iraq and Syria without congressional approval. Bill Clinton did it to was it Kosovo, I think you pronounce it. So presidents ordering military action without congressional approval has become pretty routine. So is it always a thing when they do it? I'm just asking. I don't know.
No. Well, this is where those articles of impeachment come up, and that's why House Democrat Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, she actually says that President Trump's decision to strike Iran could lead to impeachment.
So why didn't I'm just saying? So why didn't it lead to impeachment for everybody else? Like when Barack Obama
but
did it, when Biden did it,
But
when
it
Clinton
has,
did it.
you know,
Oh,
not that
did?
it necessarily, well, the people in Congress or congressional members will call for it. Does it necessarily mean that that they'll move forward with the impeachment process? Not necessarily, but there have been times in the past that these congressional members have called for impeachment of the president because of their military actions or actions that they've taken with the military without having that congressional.
I don't even.
It hasn't been this much backlash.
Yeah, I don't
like
even
with
remember
Trump.
hearing about it during the Joe Biden administration.
But I guess that's because the way Trump has been moving. But we haven't heard about it when Obama did it. We didn't hear about it when Biden did it.
I do remember when Obama did it. When Obama did it, I do remember, people in Congress saying he needed congressional approval and they were making it a thing. I don't remember the Biden thing at all. I don't remember that even making a
I was going to
headline.
say I don't recall, but people were very upset about the way that he. I mean, that went without that. People were very upset about the way that he withdrew from Afghanistan. I mean, that was certainly a thing as well. I mean, they were it was a thing.
Yeah, the only reason I know about Biden because I read an article on NBC News last night that was literally about this. It was the headline was "President's ordering military action without congressional approval has become routine," and it talked about Biden citing Article Number 2 in the Constitution, which makes the president commander in chief, and I guess basically saying he don't need congressional approval, and that's when he ordered the strikes in Iraq and Syria.
So there you are, the systematic, strategic, methodical, a most assuredly easy way to follow the logic behind how Trump is not a war criminal. Because if we're going to classify him as a war criminal, then so are Obama, Clinton, and your precious, precious Biden. Because they all did the exact same thing. I am beyond... I mean, the fear-mongering and the crap is just to the point of ad nauseum when it pertains to Trump. What he did was absolutely necessary as far as I'm concerned. Iran never needs to have weapons-grade nuclear capabilities. Ever. If even a fraction of the intel that they share with us in regards to their funding these terrorist organizations is true, even if they funded one of them, doesn't matter. They don't need it. They're incapable of it. They will. Oops, it's stolen. If they haven't already given away these capabilities and they just haven't been manufactured yet. But either way, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. And Democrats, your hypocrisy is limitless, but it's eyes wide open, being seen, being televised. And your side is very much calling you out, which is good. Until the next time, guys, let your heart drive you and your mind guide you. And please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.